on and competing at an international level, qualifying for a second major tournament, in a row. There's a lot to be proud about for Wales, for the players, for the staff, and for the nation. And yeah, I think as Ash said, this was a phenomenal performance from Denmark. They applied themselves correctly, and ultimately, yeah, it was a disappointment from Wales in the end.
Yeah, we needed to play at the best level that we possibly could today. We weren't able to do it for whatever reason. We're up against an accomplished side today, a side that maybe just had that emotional boost, obviously because of the circumstance of Christian Eriksen. But tactically, they understood what they needed to do, and after our initial opening salvo, that was about it. We found it very difficult to really make any impression whatsoever.
And Wales went in at half-time, only 1-0 down, and it could easily have been a greater scoreline for Denmark at that point. Wales were really, really up against it, and you think regroup, get yourself sorted, get back out. So to concede so early on in the second half was just a sucker punch, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a big blow. I think, when we look at it, this is a 100% clear foul for me. So I don't understand how that's not a foul. That's a foul every day of the week. As it rolls on, another interesting point in this for me is Joe Rodon's on a yellow card, and I think that possibly he might have been able to get a little bit tighter if he wasn't on Braithwaite. And then from here, we've all made mistakes. I'm gutted for Nico Williams because he's going to feel terrible tonight. But it's just one of those things. He's tried to clear the ball, and it's obviously dropped to the man. But as you said, that's a foul. Here we go. I'm not sure. Is that out? We don't know.
But they checked that, and even when you see that image there, Hal, he looks like he's out.
I think we need Hawkeye, not VAR. So yeah, it's frustrating. But again, look, that's fantastic play from Braithwaite, threatening the line, and as Ash said, everyone makes mistakes. Unfortunate that it's landed to the to the feet of the player, and it's a goal. And as I said, it's deflating for the players in that instance, going out into the second half and to concede a second goal so early on. It's really hard to pick yourself up again.
And Dolberg, of course, that was his second in the match, and he used to play his club football for Ajax. He scored 29 goals in 55 home games. He felt very much at home today, didn't he? And he looked, well, as all the Danish players, so quick to it as well. His reactions there, and to finish that, obviously, he's like a lot of those players seem to be really in the zone. They're in that kind of groove at the moment. As you said, Mark, they'll go a long way, won't they?
Yeah,
I mean, they could have Holland next, the Netherlands.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a difficult fixture for them, obviously, but given what they've shown and what they've been through, you just sense that they've got a glue that's going to take them far, and just individually and collectively, they're a very strong outfit. So teams are going to struggle against them.
Was dangerous, wasn't he?
Yeah, he had an excellent game. But you could name anyone on their team, and they put their best game on the pitch today. And like Mark said, they seem to have this kind of roller coaster, and obviously with the situation that happened with Christian Eriksen, they've re-galvanised themselves, and they're just on a roll now. Yeah,
and as I say, Mailer's had a brilliant game and then got himself a goal as well.
Yeah, and he deserved it. He deserved it. I think that Mailer, he was a problem all day for us. As we can see, he's creeping up here. He's adventurous. He's brave. He finds himself in a massive gap of space, a bit of composure, and banged it straight in. And I thought he was excellent on the afternoon.
And this is just momentum as well. Wales are looking to attack 2-0 down. He's not going to have that space in the game if it's 0-0, if it's 1-0, and so Wales are having to commit players further forward. And he falls into a fantastic amount of space. It's a great pick out from his teammate, and he cuts inside here, shows that great skill and a really strong finish. And 3-0, it's very, very difficult now to where do you go? And I think, as we said, as a group of players, it's about taking the experience on and taking the positives out of the journey which they've had.
Well, these are the scenes in Copenhagen, the fan zones that they've got there, yet again throwing their beers into the air and rejoicing because they're watching their team go on a magnificent journey, not unlike the kind of journey Wales went on, because it's the unexpectedness almost of it, isn't it? When you're on that kind of journey, there's no expectation actually.
Yeah. Well, they lost the first two games, so they was in a situation where I'm sure they didn't expect to be celebrating that, but take my Wales hat off for a second. Very pleased for Denmark, and scenes like that are always good. On the day they deserved it, and you know they've had a tough couple of weeks, the Danish players.
2 weeks ago today that a decision was made about now to restart that game, and when you consider the fallout from that the next day, when a lot of Danish football experts and mood was coming out from the camp that they didn't really want to play that game, you know, which they lost ultimately. You know, that's an incredible turnaround in 14 days.
It is, and it shows the leaders within the team. They're a group of men. They came together collectively, and they're now they have some fantastic momentum with them, and they're using that energy. You know, the shock of the experience of what they went through for positive now. And as Ash said, from a mutual position, it's great to see what they're achieving, and I'm sure they'll go far in the tournament.
Well, of course, Gareth Bale always steps up, doesn't he, to talk to the press during the week. In the build-up to the game, he takes such responsibility on his shoulders, and he's about to talk to us now with Carl Roberts.
Gareth, a very disappointing end to the tournament.
Yeah, no, of course. Not how we wanted the game to go. Yeah, from our point of view, we started very well the first 25 minutes. Yeah, conceded a goal, and yeah, the game changed a little bit, I think. We came out second half trying to play, and unfortunately made a mistake to concede the goal, which I guess killed the momentum on our side. And yeah, obviously to finish the game how we did is disappointing, but the boys are frustrated, the boys are angry. It's understandable, and I'd rather us go out like that, kicking and screaming, than laying off and doing nothing.
You were angry when the second goal went in. Felt there was a foul on Keeper Moore, perhaps?
Yeah, definitely. If you play the ball through the back of someone, it's a foul. Felt like the ref maybe has been influenced by a lot of supporters here, but I guess it is what it is. There's no point making excuses now. It's yeah, it's disappointing. That's all I can say.
I think you missed an opportunity because it was there for you, wasn't it, in the second round to get a place in the last 8?
Yeah, no, yeah, of course we missed an opportunity, but I think one thing we can't fault is the effort the boys shown, and that's the minimum requirement for this group, and I'm proud of them all still.
I know you were asked yesterday if this was going to be your last game for Wales. You said you wanted another one.
There you go. That was the answer to that one. It wasn't the time probably that he was ever going to tell us that kind of news, but Carl obviously had to ask him the question because he did say, didn't he, ahead of the tournament, I know what my future is. If I tell you now, it'll all just blow up and it'll take, you know, the world by storm, was kind of his intonation. So there is a big announcement coming at some point from Gareth Bale about what he's going to do. What is you're a man who's spent a long time with him, both of you have.
Yeah.
What do you think he's going to do?
He's going to play some golf first, and he's going to relax, and I'm not too sure, you know. I haven't asked him, you know. It's not. It's obviously not the time for me to drop that in.
I think you'd have had the phone put down on you by the looks of it.
Yeah, you would have. Yeah, 100%. But no, I don't know. I think, listen, Gaz Bale's been one of the best players of recent, you know, times in football across the world. So his legacy is what it is, and he'll decide to do whatever it is that, you know, inevitably he wants to do.
Would it surprise you, Hal, if he just said that's it? I'm calling it a day.
He's been a talisman for the nation for over a decade.
Across all, you know, club and country.
Well, I think he's still contracted with Real Madrid for another year. Everyone's seen the situation that he's there. He's been able to play some football with Tottenham this season, and it seems like he's enjoyed it. In terms of football, he has so much to give, and you know, I'm sure Mark will tell us that, you know, if you hang your boots up too early, you know, you're going to have regrets. And hopefully for Gareth, he continues to contribute not only from, you know, the performance side of the game, but actually what he can give back to the younger players in the group, you know, to other clubs which he may play for. So yeah, I think it will be an interesting decision, but hopefully a right one for him.
Yeah, he obviously would carry on if he felt that he could give what Gareth Bale has given over the years. The mindset that he's got, do you think that he doesn't want to be kind of below that level? He doesn't want to play.
Quite possibly. The guys in the studio know him more personally than I do, but I'd be really disappointed if he did feel that he'd given enough. Obviously, he's been a huge play for Wales, and the teams he's played for, he's had massive success. Has he got anything to prove? Absolutely not. So you could see why, maybe, he's thinking in them terms, but what is he, 31, 32? It's no age. It's 31, 32 is the new 25 in my view. I was thinking of maybe in terms of finishing my career around that end. I ended up playing till I was nearly 38, so I just sense if you've still got that enthusiasm, still got that desire to play, then you've got to carry on.
He might want that World Cup, I think. You know, it's something
yeah,
that
let's hope so.
He's done a lot in his career. He hasn't played at the World Cup.
It's only 18 months away.
Exactly. So, you know, I think, you know, from a Wales perspective, for us, we'd love to see him stick around and you know, get us to the World Cup.
We'll talk about that a little bit later, but let's talk about his contribution today, because before Denmark made the tactical shift, you know, there was I mean, you said at one point, Gaz is here, he's here to play, we're okay today, and this is why.
No, he started off just sprightly. I think that you know, he's had that shot. He just looked up for it a little bit more, you know, and it reminded me of Gaz of old a little bit, where he was creating things. His confidence, he was taking a few extra touches on it. He had a couple of shots, he let a few go early. He didn't manage to find enough space. You know, I think that the Danes did well, you know, did a better job on him, you know, later on. But he looked, you know, at the start of the game, he looked like how we needed him to look for us to win. You know, he's hungry there to try and hit the header. Maybe keeper could have given him a shout. But, you know, from a Gaz Bale perspective, and across the whole tournament, you know, we've spoke a lot about him, and we've seen his leadership. We've seen the fact that he's had to change his style of play a little bit. He's not the Gaz Bale that does the Dan James runs anymore. That's Dan James' thing that he does now. But what I think Gaz has done is he's led a group of younger players with hardly any experience, especially at a major tournament, and he's led them well, and he got us out of the group stage in situations where he needed to step in. We saw him step in and give advice, and you can see him after the game, before the game, he'd done exactly what he needed to do as the captain of this team. Yeah,
and he'll be disappointed, as would all of the Wales players be this evening, looking back at the game, but he's contributed massively to the tournament, you know, through the group stages, through qualifying. So for Gareth Bale, you know, I hope that he's extremely proud of what he's done over the, you know, last 18 months. And again, he shows that there is so much more for him to give. So hopefully for footballing fans in general, let's hope he continues. Yeah, because those young players who've had the experience of a tournament for the first time, with him there kind of being that linchpin, being that voice of, you know, the maturity and the wisdom and everything that he imparts, you know, he will get a lot out of that as well, won't he? Seeing those young players coming through. So it's a national cry to keep him involved for the World Cup campaign as it goes on.
Definitely love to see him there, because the thing is, when the younger players, you know, come on camp and Gaz is there, this is Gareth Bale, and he's such a nice guy. He's so warm, friendly, welcoming. The young boys come in and straight away he makes them feel welcome, and he involves them straight away. And I'm sure, you know, he's still doing our little traditions of, you know, making, you know, lads have to sing when they come in. He's kept that going, and for you know, for Wales just as a whole, and as a team and as a nation, we obviously want to see him, you know, get us to the World Cup. Let's bring it back to the chronology of today, if you like, and Wilson, who, you know, was obviously brought on to do a job, but it was going to be a big task anyway, and then this happens. Was it a good decision for you? It was a harsh red card in my view. It didn't warrant that. There was a little bit of frustration, yes. He hadn't been on the pitch that long, hadn't been able to make an impression, just wanted to maybe get some frustration out. It wasn't violent play, it didn't warrant a straight red in my view. Clearly a booking because he's taken him out of the game, but yeah, the referee was a little bit poor on that occasion, but up to a point you can understand the frustration that the players showed towards the end. It was a frustrating night and game all round for us. Yeah, and fourth goal obviously had a check, but was awarded in the end after a rather long VAR check from the Barcelona player Braithwaite, who had a much better game today even than against Russia. Yeah, he did. You can see here, you know, we're 4v5 at the back. You never want to be in that position, but as we said before, Wales are chasing the game and they've committed men forward, and Denmark have ultimately exploited that. Is it an offside? I've seen those given offside over the course of the Premier League this season. So again, days like today as a player, you feel like everything goes against you. What I have to say, sorry Harry, what a great touch from Cornelius, and a nice little shift inside, and he's buried it bottom corner. So, you know, from his perspective, those two men that we just seen there on the screen, that was great link-up play. You'd appreciate that yourself, Mark, but that was a good goal. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Cornelius had some good runs, didn't he, when he came?
Well, he came on and he was determined to make an impression on everybody. He was like a big blunderbuss going through the middle of our defence, and yeah, I mean, when you're a substitute or as a manager you make changes, you want your substitutes to make an impact, and he certainly did.
Yeah, well, the captain Kerr went off as well, injured. We don't know how bad his injury was earlier in the game.
That might be an issue for them, because obviously they want to progress. They want their key players to be fit and available, and he is obviously a huge influence on the group as well with his leadership. So they won't want to lose him to injury.
It's the first time Denmark have ever scored 4 goals or more in consecutive matches at a major tournament. I mean, when you're keeping a clean sheet and you're scoring 4 goals, and the goals are coming from all over the place, it's especially when like Dolberg comes on to starts the match to replace Poulsen. That shows, doesn't it, the confidence that's through. They're not relying on one player to keep hitting the back of the net.
Yeah, at the minute, I think it's a little bit bigger than the 11 men they've got on the pitch for Denmark. There's something going on, and it's obvious, and they've got momentum, they've got people behind them, and they're full of confidence. They are fighting for something. You know, it's kind of obvious that they want to do this for Christian Eriksen, and as a team, you know, sometimes everything comes together, you know, in a game, and I think that they had one of those games today where their plan worked after they made the change. Everyone played very well. And there was the day's theirs, because they fully deserving of that.
Let's have a look at Dolberg's first, which of course made it 1-0 at half time, and was after a period of Denmark really getting into the game. Hal, here they'd started to exert some pressure, hadn't they?
Yeah, they had been. They began to find pockets. The runner off, we saw Aaron Ramsey, and then off Joe Morel. Having a shot outside of the box again. We knew they were a threat. For goals against in that position, and Dolberg's finish is fantastic. It's quality. It's into the corner. Danny Ward does not stand a chance, and it's 1-0. And after a really positive start, after Gareth Bale turning up in the first 10-15 minutes and everyone having their tails up, that really changed the state of the game. And as we said before, goals ultimately change games, and from that moment on they had the foothold and the momentum.
And Mark, with your manager's hat on, you immediately spotted that tactical change, didn't you?
Yeah, as I said at the time, I just felt it was something that clearly they talked about, because obviously our best players are Ramsey and Bale, so there was obviously a worry there for them, and time again we were getting in these little pockets. Christensen, obviously they made the change. Christian started getting really close to Aaron, and we found it very difficult to get a foothold in the game. You see positions here where they were getting toe holds or little nicks on things, and they just stopped that supply line into Kiefer That's had been very good for us during the tournament.
He's becoming a real kind of key figure in this team, isn't he? I mean, look at the season he's had. He's really kind of grown as a player at Chelsea, wins the Champions League, and now, in this tournament is looking like the player that can make big changes for them.
Arguably man of the match today, and I think for a centre-half by nature to step into midfield and do the job that he did today and be comfortable in possession. We've got so many clips here of him just breaking up the play, and as you say, involved with Chelsea, Champions League medal,
scoring an absolute worldie
last game. He's having a great summer. So fair play to him. The manager's asked him to do something that's a little bit different for him, and he did it excellently.
The manager's interesting because I alluded to it earlier on when we spoke to the Danish journalist before the match, and he was at first, a lot of Danish people thought perhaps he was just a bit too kind of soft. He wasn't going to be a tactical manager. Maybe he was too much about keeping the players happy, but that seems to work with this group of players, doesn't it? And actually tactically he's done a great job as well today, so he's kind of growing, his value is growing throughout the tournament as well.
Correct. You can see the relationship that he has with his players. Every goal that went in, he's celebrating with his staff, with the players, and they've got a real bond. And the tactical decisions that he made early on in the game, they would have known before the game that they had to negate the threat of Gareth Bale and Aaron Ramsey, and early on in the game Wales had dominance in those key areas in those pockets in front of their midfield, and he made that tactical shift of putting Christensen into that position, stepping him out of the back line, and it completely allowed them to gain momentum in the game and really negated the threat of Wales.
Yeah, another